It was meant to be another routine work trip. Nothing dramatic. Just me and a worn carry-on I knew by feel. I'd flown so often I could navigate an airport with my eyes closed. Coffee cup in one hand, boarding pass folded in the other, a face that usually melted into the crowd. This time, though, the air felt taut the second I reached the gate. Drop. Your location and comment, let's see how far this story reaches around the world. She was impossible to miss. Hair sculpted to a hard-edged perfection. Two big sunglasses perched on her head like a crown, a permanent tightness at the corner of her mouth that read like practice for confrontation. Around the cul-de-sacs and manicured lawns, people murmured about her under their breaths. The neighborhood's self-appointed ruler, the woman who treated bylaws like commandments. To me, she was just one more entitled neighbor, a proper Karen, if the term still mattered. She caught sight of me approaching the counter, and her gaze narrowed, appraising me as if measuring my worth. I slid my pass across the desk. The attendant returned it with a courteous grin. "Welcome aboard, Mr. Harris. You're in seat 1A today, first class." Decades of travel and a few well-earned upgrades had put me there, and I wasn't going to surrender it. Before I could step aside, she descended, sharp, theatrical, like a vulture landing. "Excuse me," she announced, loud enough for the whole queue to hear. Finger jabbed at me as if I'd trespassed. "There's been a mistake. That seat belongs to me." The agent blinked, clearly unprepared for the scene. "Ma'am, your boarding pass shows 12C. Economy," she snorted, dismissive. "No, you don't get it. I'm the president of my homeowners association. I deserve a level of respect. Beyond being packed in with everyone else." Her stare slid to me with thinly veiled contempt. "And this man? He should be grateful they let him into economy. He doesn't look like someone who should be sipping champagne up front." I felt a flush that threatened to rise, but I kept my voice steady. Years in the field had taught me restraint was sharper than any retort. The gate agent tried to explain again. "Seats are set by ticket purchase. Sir is confirmed for first class." But she wasn't listening. She moved closer, volume climbing with each word. "Do you understand how much I've done for my street? How important I am? Reassign him to the back now, or I'll make one. Call, and your whole team will be gone by morning." Heads turned in the waiting area, conversations dying into a brittle hush as everyone watched the tension tighten. Several passengers instinctively raised their phones, sensing that something viral was about to happen. The woman, basking in the spotlight, straightened her posture. Her chin lifted as if she were on a campaign stage instead of an airport gate. I gave the gate agent a faint nod and said softly, "It's fine. Let her get it out of her system." She whipped her head toward me, eyes blazing. "Don't you dare get smug with me," she snapped. "People like you need to remember your place. You can sit in the back where you belong. That seat up front is mine now." The agent's patience was thinning. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to lower your voice." "Lower my voice?" she barked, incredulous. "Absolutely not. This is harassment. You're humiliating a respected community leader. I'll see to it this airline faces consequences unless you fix this immediately. Now, before I tell you what came next, let me pose a question. If someone like her tried to take your seat right at the gate, would you hand it over to keep the peace? Or would you stand firm and claim what you rightfully earned? Drop your answer in the comments and subscribe for more stories where entitlement finally meets reality. Back to the storm. The agent was seconds from calling security when the woman lunged forward, stabbing her finger toward me like a prosecutor. "This man's a fraud," she shouted. "He doesn't have the money, the class, or the credentials to sit in 1A. He probably forged that ticket. Look at him. Does that look like first-class material to you?" Her voice cracked under its own outrage, ricocheting off the terminal walls. By then, the waiting area was a sea of glowing screens. I could see the red recording lights blinking, the internet already salivating for the spectacle. Without saying a word, I reached into my jacket and slid my ID across the counter. The agent studied it, then looked up at me with a small, knowing smile. "Everything checks out, Captain Harris. You're all set." The woman's hand slammed against the counter, the sound sharp as a gunshot. "No, this is unacceptable. I'm not boarding until he's removed from first class." The agent inhaled deeply, lifted the intercom, and spoke into it with crisp authority. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm. The pilot will now proceed to board. A wave of shock swept through the terminal. Her expression shattered, disbelief flooding her face as the meaning sank in. Phones tilted higher. Whispers rolled through the crowd like a tide. For the first time that morning, she was speechless. I straightened my jacket, collected my flight bag, and stepped forward through the parting crowd. The uniform said everything words no longer needed to. I was the pilot. The color drained from her face, her mouth working soundlessly like a fish pulled from water. What do you mean?" she stammered. He's the pilot?" The gate agent's expression stayed perfectly composed, though the corners of her mouth twitched as if fighting a smile. "Yes, ma'am," she replied evenly. "Captain Harris is the commanding pilot for this flight. Seat 1A is his pre-flight position before takeoff. You've just been shouting at the person responsible for getting you safely to your destination." Laughter rippled through the terminal, rolling outward like a wave. A few passengers even broke into applause. Someone near the back called out, "Guess being head of an HOA doesn't top a pilot's license." Another whispered, "She really tried to kick the pilot out of his own seat." Her face went scarlet, the earlier confidence collapsing beneath humiliation. She puffed herself up again, desperate to recover. Well, how was I supposed to know? He doesn't look like a pilot. He should have said something sooner. This whole situation is just—" I interrupted gently but firmly. "Ma'am, I didn't need to. Respect shouldn't depend on someone's title or uniform. Every passenger deserves courtesy, no matter where they sit." That landed harder than anything else could have. The crowd murmured their approval, nodding in quiet agreement. She glanced around, searching for support. But even her usual followers, the HOA board members who once trailed her around the neighborhood, avoided eye contact. Security arrived, professional but resolute. "Ma'am, that's enough. You have two options. Take your assigned seat in economy and remain calm, or you'll be removed from the flight." She sputtered, finger trembling in my direction. "This isn't over. You think this is funny? I'll call the airline. I'll call the board." The officer didn't flinch. "Your choice, ma'am. Seat 12C or the exit." Her shoulders sagged. With all the sulk and stomp of a child denied candy, she huffed her way down the jet bridge, muttering curses under her breath. The rest of boarding went smoother than any flight I'd ever taken. Passengers smiled as they passed me at the cabin door, a few whispering, "Thank you, Captain," with conspiratorial grins. I noticed phones still discreetly recording, no doubt capturing the moment for the world to see. Somewhere online, I imagined the caption already writing itself. Entitled "Passenger Demands Pilot's Seat, Instantly Regrets It." Learns the hard way. When I finally settled into the cockpit, I let out a single quiet laugh. Of all the flights I'd logged, this one wouldn't be remembered for turbulence or tight schedules, but for the lesson that unfolded back at Gate 14. Hours later, after a smooth landing, she shot out of the cabin like a cannonball, head down, eyes glued to the floor, desperate to vanish before anyone could recognize her. But it was too late. The story had already taken off faster than any aircraft. Clips of her meltdown flooded the internet within hours. Comment sections lit up like runway lights. Imagine trying to evict the pilot from his own seat. Karen really thought HOA rules apply at 30,000 feet. Respect everyone, you never know who you're talking to. Her arrogance had become the world's entertainment. But to me, it meant something deeper. It was a reminder that respect isn't a favor. It's a standard. So let me put the question to you. If you were standing in my shoes that day, would you have revealed who you were right away? Or waited for the moment to land just right like I did? Drop a 1 for sooner, a 2 for later. And hey, hit that like button if you agree that arrogance deserves a little turbulence. Subscribe to Flight Deck Files for more real stories where entitlement meets reality midair. Because sometimes, the best seat on the plane isn't about status or comfort. It's about the truth that refuses to stay grounded. And that day, the truth soared.